My name's Jordan Chohawno. I have one goal. If I'm going to write that day, then that's what I do. I don't eat, I don't drink, I don't sleep. I would sit at that computer and that keyboard and I would do that until I finish it. At university, another peer said, I think we should, go and see if you can be diagnosed for Asperger syndrome. Asperger syndrome is characterised by a lack of understanding of given situations, lack of emotion, lack of opinion in a sense. I have a brother, Jack. We're home taught. My brother was learning to read and write and do great things. I was off doing either writing music or I was building generators so that we could watch TV that night. I couldn't work out how to fit in and do it like the other kids. I couldn't do it. We did go to play school. Dad picked me and Jack up and he went round to the reception and the woman sat there. She said to my mum, "He'll never make anything, that one." I was like, thanks. It was really hurtful. I was like, what Christ, what a thing to say. This is the trailer we live in. We came here in a blue van called Gandalf was the name. It was so crammed. I do have pictures of we're all just sitting in the front room eating our roast on and Sunday. We came here with nothing. All we had was a trailer and a van. That's it. Me and my family were busking since I was about 7 years old. The best place to busk was in Bath. We used to get sometimes 100, 150 pounds a day.
And I was interested in music at the time. I was being taught by my dad.
We started up the family band in the early 1990s. I played lead fiddle, Jordan played, and Jack, he played, but he didn't keep it up. Played it on the pavements and shows.
Chohawno. The Romany for wizard. My dad's name is Ginny, and then we called the Ginny Chohawno family band. I perform at a lot of local weddings. We also played a few funerals as well. They were never great things to do.
My brother Jordan, he just picked it up really quickly.
I taught him. He was about 6.
I said, "Can I come along?" And Dad said, "Well, as long as you be quiet." So I was like, right. So I came along and I just sat there. Like Dad was there on the violin playing away, and they were playing Old Washwoman. And I was just messing around with the different penny whistles. There was one in F, one in G, one in D, one in A, and they were all playing in G, right? So I picked up one in D. I didn't know what I was doing, but it said D on it, because that's, I remember that. So I started, and then for some reason, I don't know how I did it, but I played the entire chorus line on the flute, on that penny whistle, completely perfectly, in tune with the rest of with the other penny whistle players, and they all just stopped and looked at me, and I thought I'd done something terribly wrong, so I just burst into tears. Dad then decided, he said, right, I'm going to take you to Roger Trim, and Dad got me a violin.
And I think it was a couple of weeks he was already composing his own piece of music.
And I started writing my first composition called Catching Tiddlers. It's weird, it's almost like jumping on a waterfall in one of those boat things. It's a bit nervous at first, but then you suddenly go.
At the age of, I don't know, not 10, he literally surpassed my father at playing violin.
Some of my pieces were a minimum of 10 minutes long. However, when I was at my university years, I started to realise my limitations with the violin. I was coming to a point where I knew I wasn't probably going to get that much better, but when it came to composition, I still didn't know. A lot of my childhood years were quite violent dreams. Passed down through my dad, I suppose. My dad didn't have it, but my grandfather did. When I was younger, I had a lot of problems. I was anorexic, was fainting all the time, never put on an ounce of weight. I also suffered with the mental illnesses like voices and things like that, and I find that if I'm not doing anything, the voices can take control. With all that happening, the music really helps to suppress it. Keeps all the voices and the bad thoughts away. My childhood was amazing for my parents, but my mind wasn't. My first 3 months of college, I was behind the class, and then all of a sudden, the last month, Julie said, right, I take on my soldiers to do one-to-one. And then I caught up really quickly. Once I started at university, I really got into music then. It loves me and it destroys me, and I love it. Most of the other students, my peers, were a lot more sociable than I was. And I would, most of the time, be on my own. I would find it easier just to go and compose something. In the main theatre, it was dark, there was only a piano in there, and it was massive, and the piano was bloomin' lovely.
And when he was at college and uni, he turned up, he would do his course, learn his stuff, and then he'd go. If he was to talk to you in his music, he'd be like, boom, boom, no problem. But if he was to kind of talk to you on a social level, just like, so, how you been, it will always come across as slightly awkward.
The way I handle it is I choose not to communicate too much with too many people, because I can't do it, or I'll appear to be a weirdo. When they're having a chuckle, how do you know whether or not they're being sarcastic or not? This bodily signal means this. This bodily signal means this. If you've got someone that you're having a laugh with, or you know personally, that's a bit different because you've had time to get to know that person.
We have 3 children. If he's in there composing, I have to kind of try and force him to eat something. He can sometimes go to bed when I'll be getting up. He does rely heavily on me to give my input. I've got to kind of watch what I say because he does take it to heart sometimes. He can get really depressed. As soon as I hear him play music again, I know he's absolutely fine. He came on the train to come and see me, and he got off the train, got down on one knee and proposed to me in front of everyone at the train station, which was a massive thing for him because he's really shy and he doesn't like, you know, people watching him. I've always wanted to play the saxophone, but he's never bought me one.
I like creating something new. However, I don't want to go out there and write a piece that so sounds so different that it doesn't mean anything. If I'm going to use strings, I'll use them in a traditional manner. I don't like mainstream commercialism. The 100 million of them are doing the same thing. And if it's everywhere, then it has no value. I'm trying to be a human being with a personality. Agatha started out as just an idea in my head about a guy who was really happy with his girlfriend and they get married. She gets crushed on her wardrobe and then he runs forward to pull her out. He sews her back together and then dances with her because she's dead, obviously, but in his eyes, she's not. Then I got the artist to do the images. In music for film, I can be specific, whereas when you're doing a live performance like we did today, I could play that again, back, and it would be different. I've always thought that the root source of my creativity comes from that oak tree over there. It's a good 200-300 years old. I used to go over the violin a lot and just play music under it, and I used to get a lot of inspiration just looking at the land, listening to the trees, the birds, the wind. I'd be listening to it inside the violin and hearing those vibrations and then coming up with my own harmonies to work with that.
I realised that I was like alright singing when I was maybe 10, 11. Well, we were in Panta, you were doing the musical directing for Ali Baba. I'm not very good at understanding the terms. You explain it in a way that you use all the proper terms and everything, but like I still understand it.
I teach up there. They've got a show going on up there at the moment. I'm doing the vocal coaching. It sort of keeps me in, you know what I mean? I would very much like to do the BBC and stuff like that. I want to orchestrate for film, TV, but I'm not a mainstream composer. I never have been. It doesn't interest me. There's no soul in it. Compositions have to be personal.
When it comes to music, he lives in it all the time.
He's completely taught himself the piano.
If you start talking consistently, he's composing when he starts tapping his foot. What he can come up with that fast is exceptional.
two types of Aspergers, I find. Those that wish to communicate with others and be around the community, and others that wish to be on their own, and I am the latter.